sees today's class on extradition. So first, extradition is a process by which a person accused or convicted of a crime and it's formally transferred to a state where he is wanted for trial or to serve his sentence. So this word under extradition, so this is the definition. Write down. So extradition is a process by which a person accused or convicted of a crime and it's formally transferred to a state where he is wanted for trial or to serve his sentence. So there are two states which is involved in this. So we will see that for extradition you require two states. The first one is the territorial state, which means the state where an accused or a convict is found. That means he is doing the crime in one place and he is fleeing to another country. So this is the territorial state, which is first. Next is the requesting state. So don't forget these words. State where he has done the crime and he has committed the crime and he is fleeing from. So next, a state which demands for the surrender is known as the requesting state. So they are asking him, please do extradite. That is, please do send him to our state so that for the crime he has committed. It can be a political crime, it can be a crime against state, it can be an individual crime of a higher official or an authority. So anyone who has done the crime, the act of criminality should be there for extradition under international law because a person is surrendered by the territorial state only upon the request by another state. So when he is fleeing to another state, he is doing the crime, he is murdering. For example, A is murdering and government authority and he is fleeing to country B. That time country B is the territorial state and only upon the request of the requesting state, that is country A, he would be extradited. Then one more point, is there a treaty necessary? All that we will see in the class. Next is request is through diplomatic channel. So first the crime should be there, then there should be involvement of two states where one state he has committed the crime, which is the requesting state, and he is fleeing on to the territorial state, and there must be a request from the state to the territorial state. So request is through diplomatic channel. The next point is the request for extradition, which is a very important point. A person distinguishes extradition from other measures such as banishment, expulsion, deportation, where an undesirable person is forcibly removed. So there are many methods like this to punish a person in the earlier days. So banishment, expulsion, that is throwing the person out of a nation, not giving him any rights of that nation. Deportation, transporting from one nation to another nation so that he is not returning back. Usually they do it in the sea so that he doesn't return back. So all that such methodologies were followed in the punishment in earlier days. If you see, deportation was there in India for some time and now it is removed, it is not there. Okay, understand that. Next, if you see, the Extradition Act 1962, which is very very important to understand extradition from Indian perspective. Extradition treaty between India and other country. The law relating to extradition in India is governed. So this Extradition Act 1962 plays a very important or a vital role. Next, extradition treaty means, write down, a treaty, agreement or arrangement with a foreign state relating to extradition of fugitive criminals. A treaty, agreement or arrangement with a foreign state relating to the extradition of fugitive criminals. Next, if you see extradition in India, how it is seen, according to section 2C, even write down this, according to section 2C of the Extradition Act, an extradition means offence provided in the extradition treaty with the foreign states. So, an offence punishable with imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 1 year under the Indian law or a foreign state. So, certainly the element of crime, as I earlier mentioned, should be there, and this imprisonment for a term not less than means minimum itself it is 1 year, either under the Indian law or according to the foreign state. Next, if you see composite offence under section 2A, an act or conduct of a person occurred wholly or in part in a foreign state or in India whose effect or intended effects takes as a whole to the act of crime. That is how it should be read. An act or a conduct of a person occurred wholly or in part, that means fully or partially, in a foreign state or in India whose effects are intended effects, means the outcome of it taken as a whole constitute to the crime. That is what 2A says clearly. Next, if you see who may be extradited. So section 2F of the act says fugitive criminal. So who is a fugitive criminal? A person who is accused or convicted of an extradition offence committed within the jurisdiction of a foreign state. So he must be an alleged of committing an offence, or he might have been convicted, means the trial would have been conducted and he should have been proved guilty. Convicted, as I earlier classes I have explained what is this. When you say convicted person, then only suspension of sentence. But when you say a person is accused, he is entitled for bail. Understand? So that should be kept in mind. A person who is accused or convicted of an extradition offence committed within the jurisdiction of a foreign state. A person, while in India, conspires, he discusses among people. Master plan is being made to attempt or take the attempt of the crime, attempt to commit the incites, and participates as an accomplice, a person accompanying the crime in the commission of an extradition offence in a foreign state. Either he should have involved in the conspiracy or he should have participated, which is called as the criminal intent or the intent as to the act of crime. Understand? So please do not forget these terminologies. He must either have conspired or he should have been an accomplice in the crime. Next, if you see principle of extradition, these two principles are very very important. The first one is principle of double criminality, which means extradition is available only when the act is an offence in both the jurisdiction. Example, we will see bigamy. Bigamy is an offense in India, but it is not an offense in Islamic nations like Afghanistan, Pakistan. It is not so. So when you say double criminality, it must be an offense both in both the nations. That is what they say, both the jurisdictions. This is double criminality. Murder, anywhere murder is a crime, either in UK, US or in India likewise. Next, if you see principle of speciality, an extradited individual can be tried only for offences specified in the extradition request. To the object of this principle is to prevent blanket extradition request. I will explain you the example where a person is conducting committing two or more crimes. Here he has gone to another nation. What happens is India is asking for case 1. Case 1, he has murdered A and he has also murdered C and D. Okay, but here what happens is India is asking him for the trial to be conducted for the murder of A. Only for that he should be tried. He should not be tried for murder of C and D. For what case, for what purpose of the case he has been extradited? Only for that. That is principle of speciality. An extradited individual can be tried only for offences specified in the extradition request. The object of this principle is to prevent blanket extradition request, because I bring him to India and I put all the case upon him and I cannot try at all. For what case he has been extradited, only for that he could be tried. Understood? The two principles are very, very important in extradition. Next we will see political exception. Political exception is not required by international law. It must be clearly distinguished from provision in domestic or municipal legal assistance or extradition treaties that assistance of extradition may be refused if the real purpose of the request is to prosecute or persecute the person for his political opinion rather than the crime itself. For example, one person is throwing a shoe on a political person. Usually this happens everywhere when they are hating that leader. So what happens is, it is not the act of crime as explained earlier. So it is also an act of lesser degree of an offense, not as that of murder or conspiracy to bring the government down or assassination. So not a crime of such nature. So here they say it clearly, see, mutual legal assistance or extradition treaties, that assistance of extradition may be refused if the real purpose of the request is to prosecute or persecute the person. As I earlier explained, persecute, causing the or inflicting the fear of death instantly the person for his political opinion. Here he is not committing any criminal act or a criminal intent is there, but it is the opinion rather than the crime itself. For such things you cannot punish a person. Somebody hates a leader very vehemently. For that you cannot punish a person. In that hatred he should have committed an act of crime. That is very, very important. Now we will see the procedure. Each member state must comply with the request of the court or prosecutor of another member state for execution of an arrest warrant. So whenever you want to arrest a person who has done an offense of higher degree in nature, where in the Indian law or an IPC you would read taking cognizance of the offense. So taking cognizance of the offense, here the person has has done the crime of serious nature or not. So an arrest warrant would be issued by him for a person accused of an offence carrying minimum sentence of 12 months. That is 1 year, which you saw earlier. Here the arrest warrant need only to contain a description of the circumstances in which the offence was committed. The outcome, the other reasons are not required in the initial stage. What is required in the initial stage? Whether the offence was committed or not. The circumstances is first taken into account. The judicial authority, not the executive, decide on such request. So when they ask for an arrest warrant, it must be signed by the executive authority who is entitled to do so. Only for that purpose they are mentioning it. Understand? Next, if you see extraditable offences and non-extraditable offences. So they are categorizing it. What is an extraditable offences? Those that are punishable under law of both the parties by imprisonment or deprivation of liberty. So this should be the first criteria. Parties by imprisonment or deprivation of liberty. Only those offences are extraditable. Next, if you see, a crime is considered non-extraditable if the law of both the countries are not the same and if both the countries do not have an established treaty. Example, the bigamy example which we saw earlier. Next we will see this